This is ELEC142 Problem Sheet 2, Part 2 of the solutions. And now we're going to look at questions 4 and 5. So question 4 is asking us to evaluate and express in rectangular form the following equations. Well, the first one, as we can see, is quite an interesting one. We've got two polar numbers and then we've also got a rectangular number. So we're going to have to convert them to one form or another so we can actually multiply them together. As we've said before, we want to use our polar form for multiplication because it's a lot more straightforward. So what we need to do is we need to convert this part to a rectangular form. Then what we're going to do is we can just add the parts together just like a normal multiplication. You can choose which order you do it in, it doesn't matter, but you're going to multiply all of these terms together. So here we go, part which number are we on? Sorry. Oh, I've lost my place. Right, part for question 4. So that's what I've said. We're going to convert to polar form for multiplication. These first two parts are already in polar form. The final part is in rectangular, so we just converted that using our calculator, and it becomes 2.24, an angle of 63.4 degrees. Then what we've done is just multiplied all of these terms together. So you multiply 2 by 5 by 2.24, and that will give us 22.4 at an angle of, and here what we do, because we're multiplying, we're just adding all these angles together, so it's positive 30 minus 110 plus 63.4 degrees, and that gives us an angle of minus 16.6 degrees. So that's our answer in polar form. However, the question asked us to give our answer in rectangular form, so we just need to perform one more step, which on our calculator we're just going to convert it back into rectangular form to give us a final answer of 21.5 minus j 6.40. It's worth saying you do remember to do the final step, because if this question was asked in an exam or an assessment, you've done all of this hard work to get down to this point. The final part is remembering to do that conversion. These answers are the same, but we were asked to answer in rectangular form, and if you don't do that, you're not going to get the marks. So please don't be your own worst enemy. Make sure you fully answer the question. A good exam technique is to find your answer, then read the question again to make sure you have fully finished answering that question, because quite often you'll be asked to find a series of things and then you'll have to round it all up to give a final answer. So part B, this time we're just adding two polar numbers together, and we've been asked to express the final answer once again in rectangular form. Because we've got an addition, we want to convert both of these numbers to rectangular form to begin with, because it will make the addition a lot easier. So that's what we've done. So 5 at an angle of minus 200 degrees, put it into your calculator again. Please make sure you're working in degrees, otherwise you'll start to get slightly weird answers. That gives us minus 4.7 plus 1.71j. You'll notice sometimes I switch between putting the j at the front and the j at the end. It doesn't make a difference, it's the same thing. It's still an imaginary unit. Different textbooks will have different ways of reporting it, so don't worry about that, it doesn't matter. It's probably better if you can choose one and try and be consistent, unlike me. And the second part, we've got 4 at an angle of 20 degrees, converted to rectangular is 3.76 plus 1.37j. So now we've done that, we can just add these two parts together because it's a rectangular form. So we get minus 4.70 plus 3.76, gives us minus 0.94, and then we just add the imaginary parts together as well, and that gives us 3.08j. And that is our final answer. We don't need to do any more conversion because we converted it to rectangular at this point. So we've answered the question in rectangular form already. Right, so question 5. Again, this one's a little bit different because previously we were asked to evaluate and express in rectangular form. Now we're calculating and then expressing in polar form. So just make sure your answer matches the format you've been asked to provide it in. So part A, we're going to convert our numbers from rectangular form to polar form for the division. So just do that on your calculator and we end up with 7.28 at an angle of minus 74.1 over 3.16 at an angle of minus 18.4 degrees. So to do our division, we do 7.28 divided by 3.16, so we just divide the magnitudes, which gives us 2.30. And for the angle parts, we just subtract minus 18.4 from minus 74.1. So we've got a minus number, so start off with your minus 74.1, and then you're subtracting minus 18.4. So that ends up as being minus 55.6. If you just stick to doing it that way, so keep your signs in your calculation and remember that for the division you need to minus it. And obviously when you subtract a negative number it becomes positive. But if you just keep it simple and write out the extra steps if you need to, then you'll get the right answer instead of getting the answer confused. And now part B, we've got 8 minus J4 plus 5 at an angle of 80 degrees over 2 at an angle of 20 degrees. So how do we go about solving this one? Well, there's a two-step solution to this. 2 steps? Well, I can't remember how many steps it is. We'll find out as we go along. So what we want to do is you obey the normal rules of mathematics. So we need to do the division before we do the addition. So let's solve this bit first. So we're just solving this bit here. This is a straightforward division like we've had before. So it's 5 divided by 2, which gives us 2.5 at an angle of 80 minus 20, which gives us 60. So we've converted from this to this. And now we've got this simplified expression where we've just got something added to something else. We've said before we need to convert to rectangular form for addition because it makes our lives easier. The first part is already rectangular, so we can leave that. What we're going to do is convert the second part into rectangular form. Just do it on your calculator and you end up with 1.25 plus j 2.17. Now that's in rectangular form, we can just add the component parts together. So we have 8 plus 1.25 gives us 9.25, and then we need to add the imaginary parts. So we've got minus 4 plus 2.17 will give us j 1.83. So that's our final answer in rectangular form. However, we were asked to present our final answer in polar form, so don't forget the last step. Just remember to do that conversion. Just type it in on a calculator, and what we end up with an answer of 9.4 at an angle of minus 11.2 degrees. I'm going to stop there. The final two I've said are a bit more like exam questions, so questions 6 and 7, so I'm going to answer those in a separate session.